I remember this one time in the later years of primary school. We were waiting in line outside, ready to go back to class, and a few people around me were talking about a celebrity. I'm pretty certain it was Holly Willoughby. I didn't know what they were talking about because I didn't care and didn't know who Holly Willoughby was. But when one of them asked me, "Sam, you know who Holly Willoughby is, right?" And I said, "No, who is that?" Everyone around me almost went into a state of shell shock as if a grenade had just went off. You don't know who Holly Willoughby is? Do you not watch I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here? Or whatever bullshit shows that she's on at this point. Everyone was just shocked and confused by the idea that I was, lagging behind socially on this trend. And I remember this moment specifically because it is the first moment I remember where I started to disassociate from my surroundings. When everyone around me had this uproarious reaction to me not knowing this fucking bullshit celebrity, I started to feel quite inadequate, alienated. And I remember just standing in that line while everyone else continued to speak about this celebrity and just starting to zone out and just being in my own head, And I look back at this moment as like almost the first step to rolling my snowball for falling behind socially throughout my entire school life. And this pattern would continue on. I always felt like I was behind socially. And it was no different in secondary school. But also something else was introduced in secondary school, and that was the fact that a lot of the kids that were in my year had been playing a sport, they were active in some sense, maybe they were lifting some weights, and I had done no such thing. So when people started to be quite mean to me, these guys who are far more physically imposing than me, I started to feel very hopeless. What was I supposed to do? If I started to kick up some sort of fuss, then I run the risk of being punched, kicked, and I prefer to not get punched and kicked. So this also accelerated my feelings of like displacement, alienation, and also just hopelessness. Like, these guys had been doing sports since they were like 7, 8 years old, and I'm like 14, 15 at this point, and I just feel once again left behind. And it's almost this feeling of, well, I'm behind 7 or 8 years. Why even bother? Because I'm never going to be able to catch up with them anyway. They're always going to be bigger and stronger, more charismatic than me, so why even bother? And this very nihilistic mindset which I adopted started the snowball effect of just falling behind physically behind everyone as well. So I'm behind socially and I'm also behind physically now. And then even after school years, people have started to move on from their education and now they're starting to make some money. They're trying to make a name for themselves in the real world. Having been a college dropout because I ended up having a mental breakdown and I started to become very severely depressed and anxious with no job, very little skills which I could utilize to actually begin to make some money. And here I am in a Discord call with some of my video gamer friends who are talking about how they make over £60,000 per year. They're talking about buying a new car, getting a new apartment. And then there's me, 22, 23 years old, no job, no bitches, living with his mom, being a leech, to be honest. I wasn't making any money. I hadn't figured anything out at this point. Once again, I feel horribly behind everyone else around me. I was always seemingly so fucking behind socially, physically, financially, mentally. And then on top of that, with the internet putting a magnifying glass over young guys who are mega successful and way ahead of me in all areas of life as well, such as Iman Gadzi. He started to make millions, he started fine-tuning his social skills, he was looking after his body from the age of like 14 and 15. And here I am in my Discord call, 23 years old, getting brutally mogged by seemingly everyone around me, having very little prospects and a very nihilistic mindset. If I'm so far behind at this point, then what is the point in trying? I'm never going to be able to catch up with these guys. They're years ahead of me. I would never be adequate. I would never be competitive. I should just give up. And this might be how you feel right now watching this video. Maybe not to the full extent, but you also have tinges of that feeling. Maybe you understand that just having a super negative mindset isn't very helpful, but at the same time, you're hearing what I'm saying and you're thinking like, yeah, dude, there's some truth truth to what Sam's saying right now. Like, it is kind of an uphill battle when you look at it that way. Like, these guys are so ahead of me. What am I to do? Maybe you're in school and you see these natural performers who just seem to be in a positive flow state at all times, and they effortlessly talk to the women, they effortlessly study and get the high grades. Or maybe you're into the workforce and you see a guy who just slides into any position that he wants because he knows the right guy or is just a bit more charismatic than you. I could go on and give you example after example after example, but the funny thing about all of these examples is that I could give you an example for each stage of your life up until the moment you fucking die, which is kind of telling because no matter what stage you're at in life, you can always feel behind other people. Even to this day, if I thought in that more nihilistic sense, I could see myself behind right now. Oh, Sam, there's 25-year-olds who are making fucking $10 million a month right now, and what are you doing, bro? Just like how I felt behind when I was in school, socially, mentally, physically, financially, I could literally apply the exact same arguments to my life now. The only difference is that I've scaled who my competition is, and I've utilized the ultra powerful tool which is masculine competition to just better myself relentlessly. I think the problem that I was facing, and perhaps you might be facing a bit too, is that you're comparing yourself to guys who are in completely different races to you. You're comparing yourself to like Chad Thundercock, who just was birthed into the world, had all of the genetics, had the strong family unit, a strong father figure in the household, had all of the money, and of course they're going to find themselves having a much easier time through the earlier years of their life than you are, who perhaps came from a single parent household, had a lot of struggles in your household, wasn't naturally charismatic, wasn't naturally built, and you're trying to race against this guy as if that's like a fair race. It's far more productive for you to actually find guys who are at a similar level to you right now and race against them. Beat those guys and then go up a tier into the next race and continue doing that until you're eventually racing Chad fucking Thundercock. Because something very interesting about being successful is that it naturally makes you more complacent, which means you slow down. You've probably seen this quite often with guys who are coming up, they're like absolutely fucking savage animals, but then as soon as they've reached the epitome and the top, they chill out a bit. You'll see this with YouTubers, you'll see this with businessmen, you'll see this with fighters such as Conor McGregor. That's when the competition can catch up. Something very important to know is that you are on your own righteous pathway, and what's coming to you will take some fucking time, okay? A very empowering mindset that I like to instill into myself is that, yes, I had to suffer first before I reached my goals. And through that suffering, I developed all of the character which I needed to build to actually remain on my throne once I reach it. Because you see this often as well, guys. Guys reach levels of massive success far too quickly. It completely blows their ego out of control. And then just as quickly as they risen, they fall off just as hard. And that is because they did not go through the necessary character development to actually remain grounded and humble. So honestly, like, even if you feel like you're suffering so much right now, you don't have what you want yet, there's so much power in that, because if you just see that stage of your life as necessary character development so that when you do reach the tippy top, you can enjoy the fruits of your labor fully without falling off the bandwagon too much, then I think that's just ideal. I would much rather have a slow rise to success rather than a very quick rise and a very quick fall. And it's fucking never too late to start your journey either. I know it's very common to bring up stories like KFC. The guy who founded KFC was like 50 or 60 years old, and that's fucking true. It is true. But even on like a smaller scale, I meet guys out here in Thailand who are like pushing 50, 60 years old, and they still have a fantastic student mindset. They're still learning about how the world works, how all of this new shit is working, which wasn't a part of their generation. It's never too late to learn. So you, younger Sam, okay, who's 23 years old, sat in your Discord calls, saying to yourself, fuck me, man, like, I'm too behind, it's too late. Don't be fucking ridiculous, man. Just focus on beating the guys who are in your current race. Don't focus on these guys, focus on the guys at your level. Beat those to a fucking pulp, because they're all pussies anyway, and they're all just nihilistic. And then scale, and watch how quickly you fucking grow from that. Seriously, it's insane how quickly things can change for you. But it will never change if you have this nihilistic mindset of, oh, well, I started too late, so you will remain the same inadequate bastard for your entire life. By continuing to pursue growth, there is a 0% chance that you will not get better. And that's all that matters. Comparison is the thief of joy. Stay in your own lane. Compare yourself at the guys at your level and scale over time. Don't get too far ahead of yourself, because I too would feel quite discouraged if I loaded up a new game and immediately went to go kill the Ender Dragon with my wooden sword. It would seem impossible. But the truth be told, if you put a bit of time in the fucking mines, get some diamonds, craft some fucking armor, craft some new swords, it becomes a lot more doable, my friend. If you want to learn how to make money online from the comfort of your bedroom or traveling the world with your laptop, I teach over 500 of my students how to do exactly that. And as you can see on the screen here, we're getting excellent results inside of my academy. You could be next. Take care, boys.